From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in a hotel in Birmingham, in another quirky world right now, because I'm taking a bit of break from cricket for a few days to work on the world-famous dog show Crufts. And also, by the time Crufts finishes, we'll also know who's top dog in the Men's Champions Trophy.
Fantastic, Ali. Nice to see you. I'm Brett Sprigg for the ABC in Sydney, where the Champions Trophy has come to an end, for us at least, as has the 50-over career for Steve Smith, and I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But just as our domestic summer winds to an end, it's all about the resurgence of South Australia, who last weekend won the 50-over title, the newly minted Dean Jones Trophy, and now in the box seat to host the Sheffield Shield final, where if they can do that, it'll go a long way to ending a 30-year drought, or near enough 30-year drought in that format. And considering there are only 6 teams in Australian first-class cricket, that would be a fantastic drought to break, as I'm sure you're well aware, Ali, and to you as well, Charu, Sharma. So, yes, all happening, but winding down here in Australia.
And I'm Charu, Sharma for Akashvani. We've also wound down our Celebrity Cricket League. I must confess it was a lot of fun. But I'm back home now, and we're watching the Champions Trophy with great interest. Only the big match to go. Of course, there's a lot of WPL action as well. So much cricket going on around the world, but here we are on Stumped once again to chat about it.
Yeah, and good to have you with us, Brett, for Jim this week. Coming up, we're going to be joined by Royal Challengers Bangalore head coach Andy Flower ahead of the 18th edition of the IPL that gets underway on the 22nd of March. But first, we know now that it's going to be India against New Zealand in the Champions Trophy final in Dubai on March the 9th. India's men booked their place by beating the Aussies by 4 wickets with 11 balls to spare, largely thanks to a composed Virat Kohli, who made a quite fabulous 84, skillful 84 as the team chased 264. New Zealand hammered South Africa by 50 runs to reach their third final, with Rachin Ravindra, almost a friend of Stumped, shall we say. He's been on the show twice already, scoring his 2nd century of the tournament. And there was 100 for Kane Williamson as well. Charu, to you first, because India they've barely been troubled this tournament, winning all 4 matches that they've played. What do you put this dominance down to? I mean, it's no fluke, is it? 50-over World Cup finalists, reigning T20 champions.
To begin with, they are the number 1 side in the world. So there's, in terms of just being title contenders, we'll have to put them up right in front anyway. And then, of course, there's a lot to be said about the comfort that they're enjoying by being at one venue, one city. Now, there's a lot of controversy about that too, but there's no doubt that Dubai is very India friendly. It's almost like, I mean no disrespect to Dubai, but it's a mini India in terms of food, in terms of people, friends, just the environment, even the weather. I think the Indian teams, the fact that they were based in Dubai all the way through has been easier for them. In cricketing terms, we can talk about that later, but just the environment is very friendly. So, and of course, you mentioned the batting. It's come good. I think they've got the formula right. They're not hitting too many big shots, except Rohit at the top. And they're just, tickling the ball here, there, and the other for singles. Easy come. I remember last program, a couple of programs ago, Shreyas Iyer said that maybe we should be finishing matches sooner. But that's being a little churlish. I think they've done very well. They've been in complete control. And with just the final to go, they would be top contenders again, wouldn't they, Alice?
The schedule has been such a talking point, hasn't it? And Gambhir, the coach, really sort of bit, didn't he, when it was put to him in the press conference about India having an undue advantage. He said, what's undue advantage? But Mohammad Shami later on was a little more, let's just say, straightforward about the fact that, he's had the opportunity to get to grips with the behaviour of the surface over a period of time. It does count for something, doesn't it? I mean, what player, if you ask them, would they rather be in one hotel for the duration or be getting 3 a.m. flights, back and forth between multiple venues? But yeah, India have used their squad really well, and the players have still had to execute, and they have had the opportunity to rest well in between matches. It is a factor.
I think geography and travel has a lot to do with it for sure. Teams are traveling within a day back to Pakistan, back and forth. So the fact that they've been very steady in Dubai has made a difference. The only aspect that Gautam Gambhir brought out, which one can pay a little bit of attention to, is the fact that he says we don't train at the Dubai ground. We train elsewhere, the ICC facility. So it's not that this is our home ground. And to that extent, you have to agree, it's not home ground for India. But they haven't traveled much. There's no weariness or fatigue at any point of time. compared to the rest of the teams. And I do think there was a lot of noise made some time back from those who talk about selection saying, oh, India are going with 4 or 5 spinners. Oh my gosh, what's happening? It's probably not the right tactic. But haven't they done well with their spinners? So, I think they've got the formula right. They know the conditions very well, and they've played according to that. So plenty of advantages, even though it may not be their home ground, but they've played near flawless cricket.
Batting all the way down to 8 as well. I'm sure as a team they would rather be winning without those questions of having an advantage swirling around. So in a sense, they as a team have got to contend with this. Is there going to be a little asterisk next to their name? Well, in the fullness of history, it would just say India reached the final of the Champions Trophy, and who knows after that. One player who's certainly not at the beginning of his career, he's now announced the end of it in one-day internationals, is Steve Smith. As you mentioned at the top of the show, he's retired from ODIs, saying it's now a great opportunity for other people to start preparing for the 2027 ODI World Cup. So he felt it was the right time to make way. Does it feel, Brett, like it is the right decision?
Yeah, it's hard to fully contextualise or properly understand what impact this will have on the team in this particular format. I mean, yes, Steve Smith is a great player, one of the greats. The team will miss him. You'd rather have him than not. But if there's an opportunity to replenish that team in that particular format, yeah, I mean, it's not like we don't have other middle order players to come in and take their opportunity. I think of Cooper Connolly and Cameron Green when he comes back. He wants to play all formats. We've been quite quick to bring in guys like Jake Fraser-McGurk and Matt Short off the back of Big Bash form. But I can think of another one in Mitch Owen who might get an opportunity. Had a breakout Big Bash, and only a couple of weeks ago punted a 48-ball 100 for Tasmania in the longer white ball format. So those are the younger names coming in, but I don't think the team will lack for experience. I don't fear for that transition of that Australian team, and also because I don't even know when Australia plays ODI cricket next. I think it's August. They'll play South Africa in some games up north somewhere like Queensland or Darwin in our winter, late in our winter, and then they host India at the start of our summer, according to the FTP. So I don't think they'll play any more ODIs beyond November, as of course then they have the Ashes. So I don't worry too much about that with Steve Smith leaving. As much as anytime you lose Steve Smith from a team, sure, you do lose something special.
Well, to the final then, because we know that's been moved from Lahore. It's taking place in Dubai due to the fact that India are in the final and they can't travel to Pakistan because of the political tensions between India and Pakistan. The government said no. India are then going for their second global title in 8 months after winning the T20 World Cup last year. They could go 2 tournaments back to back without losing a match. New Zealand will be looking for their first ICC tournament win since 2021 when they won the World Test Championship final, beating India, if you recall. But the men have never won a global white ball event. Now, Brett, New Zealand's catching, got to say, during the whole tournament has been exemplary. I mean, against a team like India, you need those special moments in the field, don't you? Something that can turn a match. I mean, India have been brilliant at that as well, it has to be said, but New Zealand, it has been a standout feature.
It's the name of the game, Ali. It's all about taking your opportunities, taking your chances. It's catches, it's run-outs. It's just sharp fielding overall. It's the nature of white ball cricket, all cricket, really, but especially in these tournaments. The key moments come down to those spectacular moments in the field. It's pressure overall. And I think we sometimes tend to sort of associate, scoreboard pressure, making runs on the board are great in the final and all that sort of stuff. That's true to some extent, but it's the pressure on the batting team that you put on as a fielding side. So it's tight bowling, but it's stopping 3 or 4 runs and over. It's taking a sharp catch. And the best teams that take their opportunities in big moments, big finals, will prevail. So that will be a key factor for them, for both sides, because they have been exemplary across this tournament. You'd hope to think that just on the biggest stage, which is now Dubai, not Lahore, and I do feel for the hardworking Pakistan fan who sort of had a ticket to the final and won't be getting that happening in their backyard. But it's a pressure moment, so it's all about who absorbs that pressure. If it takes the form of a big catch or a sharp bit of fielding, then so be it. But absolutely, it'll be a factor.
Charu, are we likely to see? We've had one high-profile ODI retirement in Steve Smith. From the India team, Rohit Sharma, I mean, would Virat Kohli follow suit at all? But what chance of a big name stepping away from the ODI format? I mean, there were retirements, weren't they, after the T20 World Cup final? But what's the feeling?
Yeah, that's a tough one. They should win. I think Rohit Sharma might utilize the opportunity to go off on a high. Here we are, one another ICC tournament. I'm the skipper. Of course, for him personally, if he gets a big enough score in the final, that might be a crowning glory. But he is perhaps the closest to the one retiring, because next World Cup, even Steve Smith said, I'm not going to hold a position till 2007. So Rohit might well leave, but Virat has no reason to leave. I think he's quite happy not to play the T20s. He'll play the longer format and, of course, Test matches, which they all love playing. But yeah, you're right. I think Rohit Sharma is very much on the edge right now of retirement. And wouldn't it be great if he goes up on a high, personally? If he doesn't, I wonder if he's going to hang on for what though, because there's no major ODI tournament for a while. And if he considers that, even if he gets only 20 or 2, or if he gets 100, I think it's a very good time for him to retire from one-day internationals. India's got so much T20 cricket because of the IPL anyway, so it's not that you're going to miss too much. And also, let me quickly remind you about that Akshar Patel catch as well, running in from, was it fine leg or long leg? That was fabulous. So the Indians are also catching much better. But just a quick reference to New Zealand. I mean, they are the world's #1 fielding catching side. Sorry, Spriggy. Australia very good, but New Zealand are in a class apart. And that Glenn Phillips catch back the point. I mean, Kohli just stood there and watched and must have cursed, but also admired, saying, how could somebody? So it's those kind of catches that do win New Zealand a lot more matches than you think. But yeah, just back to India being the favourites. I mean, they've been very steady, and I don't think there's any indication here that India might have a poor performance in the final against New Zealand. But I do hope it's a close match. And of course, regardless of when the tickets were sold, I mentioned earlier in the show that Dubai is sort of like a second home to many of the Indians. They would have snapped up most of the tickets anyway, regardless, once India got to the final. I hope it's full house.
Well, I witnessed the T20 World Cup for the women's that was staged at that same stadium in Dubai, and for India women's matches, fabulous crowd. So we know it will be colourful, it will be noisy, it'll feel like a home game for India. Charu, I'm guessing you're tipping India then, saying they're favourites. Brett?
I'm trying very hard not to be partisan. They are playing better cricket.
Can New Zealand pull off something spectacular?
Yeah, and it would be spectacular. Look, do I have to sort of side with my neighbours here, the Kiwis, the Black Caps? Look, my head says India for a lot of obvious reasons. But, I mean, look, you can't write off New Zealand's other factors. They also bat quite deep. They have spin bowling options. I mean, Mitch Santner was tremendous, obviously. His leadership's been great as well, but they've still got Bracewell and Phillips and Rachin Ravindra as those sort of spin bowling options if it comes down to it. They are superb fielders. It would be an all-time achievement to pull it off if they could, given everything they've gone through to get here and to face the might of India. My heart says New Zealand, but I think the smart money is with India.
I think I'm with Spriggy in that, head is saying India. They've been almost flawless throughout the tournament. Next on Stumped, the 18th edition of the Indian Premier League gets underway on the 22nd of March, and Royal Challengers Bangalore will be hoping 18 is their lucky number. They've never won the tournament, and they hope that the man with the Midas touch will be former England head coach Andy Flower, who joins us now on Stumped ahead of his second season in charge of RCB. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Ali. Good to see you.
Now, RCB have never won the IPL. What are you going to do this season to try and change that?
Well, I tell you, one thing we have done is we've got a brand new squad. So we retained three players from last year, and it was the big auction. Obviously, it gives everyone a chance to renew their squads, and we've done that. And probably like every team, we look at our squad and think we can do something with this. We've got some really good balance in our squad. We've got great power in the batting lineup, and real skill and experience in the bowling lineup, which is a little bit of a change for RCB. Usually they prioritise their batting lineup with some big batting stars, and we've shifted that to what we think is a more balanced team this year.
It's going to be fascinating to watch if that combination comes off. But I do want to ask you, of course, about one of your big batting stars, because this is now your second season of working with Virat Kohli. What has it been like working in close conjunction with him, and what's it been like on and off the field?
He's been brilliant to work with. It was great seeing him from up close, in the dressing room, in meetings, in training, in competition. He's a really impressive guy. And I suppose last season was testing for all of us, but particularly for the leadership group, because we had such a bad start to the season. In our first 8 games, we'd lost 7 of them. And luckily, we turned it around. And part of the reason why we turned it round was, that leadership from within the playing group, and Virat was a huge part of that. He was brilliant under pressure. He also evolved his own game.
How so exactly did he evolve?
There was an area of our game as a team where we were a little bit slow towards the end and coming out of power play. Particularly, most sides view overs 7-8 as a little rebuilding period from a batting perspective. Possibly the easiest overs to bowl are at around 7 and 8. Virat took that area of the game on and led from the front and started pushing harder in that area of the inning. That gave us a huge advantage in putting the bowlers under pressure at that time, shifting the momentum of the batting innings. He led in that regard. And when he leads, other people follow. He's an inspirational guy. He was excellent in a number of ways. He's a great role model for the way people train. They can watch and learn him how he trains. He's still extremely hungry. He's brilliant in the field. And also, listening to him talk in a team huddle, in team meetings, in a batting meeting, he obviously knows the game inside out. And
is it no surprise to you the innings that we've seen him play in this Champions Trophy, the 100, but then, almost a more impressive sort of 80-odd in the semi-final, off the back of being leading run scorer in the IPL last year?
Yeah, it's no surprise that he's done well in this format particularly, but those conditions in the UAE aren't necessarily that easy, and he'd just come off quite a tough tour of Australia. So, but he will have bounced back so many times in his career, and he knows his game so well, and it's got so many good fundamentals about his game that's not surprising to see him do well on the biggest stage.
Andy, it's been a pleasure to have you on, as always. Thank you so much for being with us. Good luck with RCB this season.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you guys.
Andy Flower, head coach of Royal Challengers at Bangalore in the IPL. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped on Akashvani. Don't forget you can follow us on X. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And check us out on YouTube as well. Go to BBC World Service YouTube. My thanks to Charu, Sharma, Brett Sprigg, and to all of you for listening. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC Sport production for the BBC World Service in association with ABC and Akashvani.